It's uncompromising, addictive and often unforgiving, with an adrenaline rush like no other. There is no practice, no second chances. It's the ultimate motorsport competition on gravel. It is rally, and this is the East Coast Bull Bars Australian Rally Championship. It's round 3 coming to you from the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, run alongside the Asia Pacific Rally Championship. Last round in Canberra, we made history again, where Molly Taylor became the first woman to win a round of the Australian Rally Championship. Steve Mackenzie's stop-start attack this year continued with suspension dramas, robbing him of a first ever ARC heat win. An aggressive Simon Evans paid the price for monstering his younger brother, who was getting in his way. Eating his dust, only choked the Honda Jazz. But then Eli looked certain to fail after crashing out in Heat 1.
70. Oh, we're out, man.
He bounced back for a tussle with Molly Taylor, and the Citroens of Sullins and Coppin both led Heat 2 at different stages. In the end, it was the non-registered Harry Bates in his first outing who caused the upset, sneaking in front of Sullins, allowing Molly Taylor in for the weekend win. So Molly leads the way from Eli Evans after 2 rounds. Tony Sullins is third, with Adrian Coppin fourth, thanks to a non-finish from Simon Evans. Steve Mackenzie rounds out the 5. In the four-wheel drive National Series, Mick Patton extended his lead over Justin Dowell, with Marcus Walcombe jumping to third. But things will change after this round in Queensland. It's the best 3 of 4 rounds, and so far, only the Repco Rally team of Mick Patton and Bernie Webb has the consistency to be considered winners. Justin Dowell is MIA this round with business, but Mark Pedder is back with the Peugeot Maxi car sorted. He and Dale Moscott have a score to settle. Michael Bailey is a regular feature on the national circuit and returns with Matt Harriott in the freshly repowered BP Ultimate Evo 9. The man behind Fibertech Medical is having a red-hot go this weekend too. He might not be the fastest, but consistency is a feature of Gerald Schofield. He and Katrina Kelly are looking for a podium. With eyes on the championship though, it's Eli Evans who wants the top spot. He and Glenn Weston know what it's like to win. They'll be doing what they can to cause an upset in the Citroen DS3. Molly Taylor and Bill Hayes know they must come out fighting. There's no room for complacency, and certainly no chivalry will be granted the Hi-Tech Oils Renault team. Tony Sullins and Julia Barkley came oh so close to their first win in the championship last round, and will be looking for even better things in Queensland in their Citroen DS3. After stumbling at the final hurdle, Adrian Coppin and Erin Kelly will also be looking to go one better this round. The third of the DS3s has been mechanically overhauled and is ready for action. Steve and Brent Mackenzie are hoping their luck has finally turned. An overnight stop in Goondiwindi en route from Victoria saw a smash and grab on their service vehicle and $10,000 worth of tools stolen. Things certainly couldn't get much worse for the Optico team. And let's not forget the man who brought new meaning to sibling rivalry last round after a confrontation with Eli that many had speculated might be coming. His bark was more ferocious than his bite, and he and Ben Searcy are back with a new engine to square things away out on the road. Simon collected 3 bonus points for second in the Armour All STP Power Stage here this round. Unable to beat Eli, who scored maximum points once again. 0.8 of a second separated the top 3, Tony Sullins grabbing the final point on offer. In four-wheel drive, Mark Pedder had the upper hand in the final, dead heating the winning outright time and a clear winner over Gerald Schofield, who edged out Michael Bailey for second. The rally begins tomorrow in the Hinterland, an endurance round which has subtle differences to a usual heat. Dean Herridge is at the ceremonial start in Caloundra and has the details.
So STP and Armour All Power Stage has been run and won. Ironically, four-wheel drive winner here, Mark Petter. Great run for him to get the maximum points. Now, of course, we're moving to the rally proper. Ceremonial start here in the streets of Caloundra. Electric atmosphere, the chance for the people to get up close and personal with the cars. Here we go, two-wheel drive winner, Eli Evans in the Citroen. So power stage out of the way. Now it's about our endurance round. This is the first of our endurance series where the 2 days count. There's heat points there, but it's about the endurance and the speed of these cars. We'll be, of course, focusing on our outright and four-wheel drive cars.
After 100 millimetres of rain in the preceding week, the Sunshine Coast is beginning to live up to its reputation. The clouds have cleared and life in the sun is returning to normal. But life is far from normal inland in the Mary Valley to the northwest of Caloundra. This will be home to the International Rally of Queensland and the East Coast Bull Bars Australian Rally Championship. With a handful of drivers breathing down his neck, Eli Evans knows the roads today will be a deciding factor.
A lot of the stages are hard-packed clay, so when it is wet, it's very slippery, but when it's dry, it's almost like tarmac. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting today. I think it's going to be very grippy, a little bit greasy between the trees, so a little bit of caution in there, but, you know, you've got to go flat out from the first stage.
The focus for Eli this weekend is on overtaking championship leader Molly Taylor, but the events of last round with his brother are not far from his mind.
You don't want to poke the big gorilla and wake him up, do you? So he'll get pretty angry. So we'll see. I think he's going to go flat out from word go, as he normally does. So it's got to be on our toes, be ready for his attack and hopefully hold him off.
I'm really looking forward to getting out there. We've gone the 900 option because we're car 13 on the road. We're a bit down the field. It's going to be swept. So we're taking a little bit of a punt, but it's a medium compound, so I can't wait to get out there.
Our championship leader is clear on what's needed this weekend.
It's an endurance run and we've still got a long way to go in the championship, and as you say that, you know, Simon and Eli aren't going to back down without a fight, so I certainly don't think it's the time to be sort of backing off and driving conservatively. We still need to push.
This is the weekend Tony Sullins must make his move. Coming to the halfway point of the championship, he's in a handy third position. His start in the power stage has given him confidence for the rally.
I've set up my car based on my strengths, which will be the fast stuff. The slow stuff, I'll probably be a bit slower on. I'm a bit too stiff on the suspension, all that sort of stuff. But you know, if I'm comfortable in the car, I should be reasonably quick.
He's not quick on the opening stage and knows it. Over 5 kilometres, he slumps to fourth position and 14 seconds behind the lead car.
Oh, I think that was really slow. The car's, I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Simon, on the other hand, is fast. Only 3 minutes 30 to cover the short sprint distance and leading Molly Taylor by 7 seconds. It's Eli who blitzes the field though, 3 quicker than Simon, and attacking as he indicated from the outset. But attacking means taking chances, and he and Glenn Weston have a narrow escape that threatens to end their rally early. After the loss of tools from their service truck, Steve McKenzie is focused on turning things around this weekend. But he's robbed again, this time of a good opening stage time within half a K of the start. After a spectacular start to his ARC career, Harry Bates is brought down to earth with a crash as well.
Drive shaft.
The balance between the highs and lows of rallying has come back to back for a young man with rally pedigree in only his second ARC event.
Fast right 8 over crest, into left 8 line, over crest doubles.
SS2 Gibber is traditionally the opening stage to this rally and a familiar one for Eli Evans. It's another clean run and he banks a valuable lead, but is wary of the risks.
We had a really great stage one. I think we were third fastest in the APRC, so that's really pleasing. Bit of a moment right at the finish line where we nearly rolled it, so cut over crest and a bit of a wake-up call. Got away with it, so just pulled it back a little bit for this one, and you can see on the times we're a little bit slower.
Again, Simon is 3 seconds behind, but his strategy is long range, thinking ahead to the 22-kilometre speedy contractor stage up ahead. He's excited.
I'm really happy. Now the car's mint, and that stage run was pretty tricky, and we've gone out on 900s. So the idea is to have good tyres for this long stage, and that's what we're ready.
Tony Sullins is third fastest in the Citroen, quicker than the Renault this stage, but in all, a second a kilometre behind Eli.
Yeah, the first one doesn't suit the way I got the car set up, and I'd forgotten all about that stage until we got out there. So then I, was a bit tentative through it, and this one I sort of knew roughly the flow of the thing. Still a bit tentative, there's more in there, I'm sure. The car's great and I'm feeling good.
The Hi-Tech Oils Renault is not inspiring confidence in Molly Taylor.
There's just a few really rough compressions and he's not very happy, he's not wanting to select gear. So in the stage it was fine. Hopefully, don't know, we've got a gear now, so we'll keep going while we got gears.
The rough compressions have taken their toll on Steve and Brent McKenzie. They've backed off after the massive hit in the opening stage. Service is still 2 stages away, but with all that coolant leaking, it's not looking good.
Yeah, just a dip, kicked the car on its nose, and it's made a mess at the front. So we limped through that one. I'll see what the guys reckon when we get back to refuel. I intended on just taking it easy for the first few, but got the red mist and straight into it.
No red mist for Adrian Coppin. He's 20 seconds off the pace in both short opening stages and has little to explain why.
We didn't really get a lot of testing. It was sloppy conditions, and I just pulled my finger out, I think.
In the four-wheel drive National Series, Mark Petter's arrival with the all-new Peugeot Maxi car is overshadowed by Nick Patton, the series leader giving no ground after a disappointing Armour All STP power stage.
I had a really good sleep yesterday afternoon and last night, so got all the nervous energy out yesterday at the power stage on the jump start.
He and Bernie Webb set fastest times on the opening stage, to be followed home by the power stage wildcard Kent Lawrence. Lawrence is also using the first 2 short stages to settle in and prepare for the longer Speedy Contractors stage.
Yeah, look, we had a really good run. It was clean, it was tidy, it was better than expected, so we relaxed and just enjoyed it.
Handling issues stopped the Petter's suspension Peugeot from matching the Repco Evo. But somehow, Mark Petter does beat Lawrence back to third through Gibber.
We just can't control the back of the car, so it's quite scary to drive, so I'm not sure what has happened between the power stage and here, but we've got to do something because you just can't keep it on the road.
Yesterday's other finalists have to be content for minor stage placings. Schofield and Bailey settling into a race of their own.
Yeah, good, it's drying out, just trying to keep it nice and neat, keep ahead of Gerald if we can all day, so that's going to be the battle of the day, I reckon.
Speedy Contractors is the longest stage of the event, and it's coming up right after the break, the International Rally of Queensland. Welcome back to the East Coast Bull Bars Australian Rally Championship. It's Evans v Evans through SS3 Speedy Contractors. Simon has better road position running behind the APRC field. But Eli is showing good speed, racing between bursts of sun through the trees. He and Glenn Weston use a life and manage to continue.
Opens for 70, then Care, tightens past 1 in.
Then past left, 2 very long over crest, tightens a bit.
Simon, on the road behind them, isn't so lucky.
Caution, past right.
Broken control arms and drive shaft mean Evans and Searcy are out for the remainder of the day.
Left 5, quick crossing.
There's a third outright contender in trouble through this 22-kilometre stage. While Eli Evans made it through the water crossing, Tony Sullins does not.
Short, right 5.5.
Ah, be buggered.
Oh, it hasn't.
It has.
Almost the same driving line for Coppin and Kelly, but their engine air intake is not the same as Sullins, and it makes all the difference. By the time Sullins' engine dries, the starter mount breaks and he's forced to hold it in place while Julia attempts to restart the car. Molly Taylor is next on the road. She's 15 seconds slower than Eli, but the Hi-Tech Oils Renault has no issues with water.
Long quad right minus in on swole jump.
Sullins and Barkley finally get started, but now it stalls, forcing a repeat of their unorthodox starting procedure. Steve McKenzie is struggling on, trying to make service. Speed is not an issue for him at the crossing, and Sullins is still trying to get going.
Can you press that button down?
Things have gone from bad to worse. Now the DS3 won't come out of gear. It's time to call it a day. Another clean run through Hordern for Eli, an easy win from Molly Taylor and Bill Hayes by more than a second a K.
And danger.
In a desperate effort to go faster, Adrian Coppin changes suspension settings between stages, but it doesn't help.
Into braking slope. Bad jump.
With that, and all the temporary withdrawals, Ashley James grabs the chance to bask in some glory. Despite his own handling issues, he's third fastest in his VW Polo. Through Kandanga North, Eli and Glen Weston suffer their own water problems in the factory DS3.
Still good. Wow.
With Simon sidelined, even a 37-second lead is not much when it involves a Citroen and creaks.
It'll clear up.
It's Molly's moment, and she wins the stage by 3 seconds. Her niggling gearbox issue caused by a modification since Canberra.
We've actually raised the engine up a little bit to try and give us a bit more clearance, and it just means that just the angle of it's slightly different. So sometimes when you're stopped, it's a bit more difficult to locate the gears. But yeah, in the stages, it's no problem.
The problem for Citroen is clearly water crossings.
It's very vulnerable right down there in front. It's like a big scoop. You can put a flap on it to try to redirect it. On the World Rally cars, they actually have a cut-off flap, which is controlled by the co-driver to block the water intake.
One suspects an area of modification very soon for the DS3. After stopping before he'd hardly started, Harry Bates might be considering modifications of his own in the Corolla.
800 metres into stage one and we lost drive, and we've since found out it was both drive shafts that we've done. So looking to get back out there this afternoon and rejoin, but disappointing for sure.
Even former champions have been sidelined today. Simon Evans can't believe how little damage was caused by his pace noting error.
Made a mistake in recce and just wrote the wrong note. We went off in fourth gear, and the next thing we're going backwards down the road, and I'm like, what happened? And we still had a car. It was amazing. I broke a drive shaft, and that was it. We couldn't continue, you know, so.
Mark Petter's chance to show off the new gen four-wheel drive is dashed, trying to clean the windscreen of mud. The washer bottle is missing a vital component, and the wipers just smear, reducing visibility.
Keep going on your wipers.
Kent Lawrence is up to second in stage and overall, behind the flying Repco machine. Through Hordern, with a clean screen, Pedder gets the win from Patton, with Lawrence relegated to third. Mike Bailey loses time to Schofield through Speedy, but grabs the stage win back through SS4 and keeps their personal battle alive. Through 5, and Bailey beats series leader Mick Patton, but for very good reason.
Not a lot of movement. We found we only had third gear, so we sort of got to the end and limped out as best we could. Did a little bit of stuff on the side of the road and got it 1, 3 and 5, but it's all a bit sloppy in there at the moment, so the boys are here getting it all sorted. Lost a fair bit of time in that last one, but still held on the lead, I think, by 10 seconds at the lunchtime service.
Can the boys fix the car to keep Mick in the game? We'll find out in just a moment. Welcome back to the East Coast Bullbars Australian Rally Championship in Queensland. The afternoon stages of Leg 1 are the repeat of this morning's. With Simon Evans or Tony Sullins, Eli again opens up an advantage over championship leader Molly Taylor. But by the end of S7, the Hi-Tech Oils Renault is steaming away. They will make the refuel and Imbil, but a time delay to repair a blown radiator hose will cost them a massive 4-minute penalty.
Then slow down, short left 8, straddle through rough dip.
Erring on the side of caution, Eli Evans takes care through the SS7 creek crossing.
Care, slight crest into turn right 1 late. That was deeper than. Yep.
Still, the Citroen misfires. With turbo boost back, Steve and Brent McKenzie beat Molly to the end of Gibber. But the Opticoat Fiesta is far from ideal.
It's actually pulling now. Intercooler's the radiator's still leaking. So we're still topping it up. The rear beam's bent, so it's very nervous in the fast stuff. On right-handers especially, and very hard to just keep in a straight line.
The brothers from Victoria do well enough through the repeat of Speedy, second to Eli Evans, who has no problems with his creek crossing this time. A sticking throttle in SS8 does little for Molly Taylor's confidence in her Renault.
Something wrong with the throttle.
And she and Bill Hayes drop 40 seconds to the lead Citroen. Having already inherited second outright, Adrian Coppin is somewhat the Stephen Bradbury in, by his own admission, a day of very average driving.
Like to get the most out of them. They only work when they're sort of at 100%, so that's sort of, I think, probably a bit of the problem as well. But yeah, I've just got to sort it out and get on with it and stop whinging, I think.
For Eli, it is the end of a very big day of rallying, and he continues to prove just how formidable a team he and Glenn Weston are.
It's bloody tough. And the Citroen DS3, it's, I've thrown everything at it. I've put it in the trees, bounced it off some banks. I've had it on 2 wheels 3 or 4 times. I've put it through water splashes and it's just come through. So it's a brilliant little car. I love driving it.
Mick Patton's lunchtime gearbox issues are resolved, but not without penalty. And as last round, we have a change in leader between stages. That means on debut in the ARC, Kent Lawrence is leading the four-wheel drive National Series. Patton and Mark Pedder beat him through the first repeat, but Lawrence is in the fight and pips the Pedder Suspension Maxi for second through the next stage, hanging on to his 16-second advantage. Regular ARC competitor Mark Beard swapped his classic Corolla for his naturally aspirated RS this event and was never going to be a threat to the front runners. The Subway Subi is the only car not to go sub 4 minutes. He and Jim Gleeson in service early with a broken drive shaft. The Repco Evo storms back through SS7, jumping Michael Bailey to third outright, even with the 2-minute penalty. But the drive of the day is between the iLab Evo 8, toughing it out with the Pedder Suspension 208 through 3 stages. Lawrence and Wilson steadily losing their buffer. But Pedder and Moscott have been having their own dramas. They're distracted on the final stage start with fuel issues, and Moscott fails to plug in his intercom.
Good.
Without notes, Pedder presses on while Moscott struggles for nearly a minute before he can communicate with his driver. Still, they snatch lead from Lawrence in the dying moments of the heat by 3 seconds, and are now under the watchful eye of scrutineers, eager to ensure their leaking fuel is sorted ASAP. There's nothing Kent Lawrence can do.
Look, I'm hoping we've held second. No, we were fighting there with Pedder in those last couple of stages and the gap was getting shorter. Yep. But, well, we gave that everything we had through there in the last stage, so let's see where that puts us.
Plenty of ups and downs in League One, a bit like the rally itself. Heritage and an ECB insight into the highs and lows of the International Rally of Queensland.
There are plenty of highs and lows in rallying, and this is a prime example. Rally Queensland, the highs being the jumps and the crests that you have to tackle, and of course the lows being the dips and the water crossings. Synonymous with this event, very difficult to judge. It almost comes down to recce and experience on how to pick the right pace. Of course, over the jumps you've got to try and make sure the car lands nicely, not sacrifice too much speed. Alternatively, with the dips, slowing down enough that you get through them safely, not damage the car, and of course add water. Had a lot of rain here. Make sure you get through there without doing too much damage to the water ingesting into the engine. So plenty to think about apart from just the lefts and the rights.
And right now we have a clean break before the final leg of the ARC from Imbil, on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. All that right after the break. The sun rises well after crews depart Caloundra for the pristine dairy country of the Mary Valley. Mist swirls around the trees, interrupted by shards of light splintering through the leaves that signal a new day.
Day 2, and after a dramatic day 1, anything can happen in this event. Eli Evans, a commanding lead in outright, and 2 casualties of day one. Simon Evans and Tony Sullins will rejoin. Their best hope, however, is obviously leg points. Four-wheel drives, however, much closer. Three of our main contenders within a minute. Anything can happen in this event, still 100 kilometres to go.
For the overnight four-wheel drive National Series leader, it's a near thing. His maxi car had to be pushed into park for May last night after it wouldn't start following service.
Look, we're not sure what it is. You know, we had a fuel leak, obviously, at the end of the last couple of stages, and we might have been super lucky and the thing's run out of fuel as it's landed in service, but or it could just be a pressure thing. So the boys are checking all that now, and as you probably saw, we had to push it out of park for May. But look, with this crew, they'll get it done and we'll get back out there.
With mechanics crawling all over the 208 Peugeot, it eventually fires and Pedder does make the start. SS11 is the reverse of speedy contractors, 22 kilometres including that infamous creek crossing. Pedder's problem begins long before the water though. A frosty morning temperature, a steamy mix with engine heat.
I can't really see shit.
The windscreen demister won't clear the condensation. And the creek crossing doesn't help either.
Stop.
Vital seconds tick by and they surrender the leg lead back to Mick Patton.
Alright, go.
Things get worse when the handbrake jams on.
Handbrake stuck on. Lock's on it. How do you get the lock off?
In overall rally terms, Lawrence is now in front.
There was certainly some dust and some sunny spots in there that made it very interesting, but a bit of an excursion at the Water Creek, but nevertheless, we got back into it and kept going.
Meantime, Mike Bailey is losing his battle with Gerald Schofield.
The turbo hose sounds like it's come off at about 10k, so I was pedalling like bloody Barney Rubble there up some of those hills.
Nothing Flintstone about Pedder and Moscott's charge back up the leaderboard. Every stage, they peg back more and more time. With the pressure on, Lawrence has a narrow escape in the 6-kilometre Woodland stage. And the oil cooler has been bent in the previous million stage at the new jump. Another win for Pedder over Patton through SS13. Michael Bailey is up to third in stage with the turbo hose now secure, but a flat in the previous stage didn't help his cause. Patton extends his leg lead over four-wheel drive rally leader Lawrence after a win through the reverse run, Kandanga South. He beats Pedder for the stage victory by 0.9, but the Pedder suspension machine is in the wars.
We've got no brakes. Then in Kandanga, we had no handbrake and then lost rear brakes, had an overshoot, and then no clutch. So managed to drag the thing back here, and fingers crossed the boys can get that right and we can head out this afternoon and try and peg back the 27 seconds, I think it is, to Kent.
We've had a strong morning, so we went out hard and we're keeping it in there, so we'll keep focusing now for the last loop and see what we can bring home.
But Pedder needn't worry about Lawrence. After a spectacular entrance to his debut ARC event, qualifying for the power stage and leading the four-wheel drive National Series, Kent Lawrence departs the event the same way through Speedy North. No harm to either himself or James Wilson, but plenty of work required to the iLab Evo 8. Remarkably, despite their own dramas, the event lead now falls to the Pedder Suspension Maxi 208. Mick Patton is still in the hunt for a leg win. That too is put to the test in the same stage.
150, Blackwell, 200.
Patton and Webb struggle through the final three stages, but are forced to trail to Imbil to be at least officially counted as leg finishers.
And 6 right tightens, 4 through water, stay to the right.
The day of dramas continues. Mike Bailey drowns his BP Ultimate Evo in the creek crossing through Speedy, shortening his rally.
Shit, that's deeper than before.
After 2 days of crossing this creek, water is certainly causing more problems. Beard's problem is the gears in his car. Third and fourth go AWOL with 2 stages to go. But he and Jim Gleeson are a rare breed this rally and will make the finish. Gerald Schofield is another keeping his nose clean. He wins his personal battle with Mike Bailey and will make a podium in what's become a weekend of carnage in four-wheel drive. For Pedder and Moscott, it's hardly been a clean run this weekend. The finish is almost an anti-climax after the events of this rally. It's been a well-deserved win.
The boys have done an outstanding job with the car, to keep this thing going with all the dramas that we've had, and we've got it better. It's just been, credit to the boys.
So, Mick Patton still leads the four-wheel drive National Series, with Justin Dowell needing to get back into the fight to stay in contention. Mark Pedder and Gerald Schofield joined the chase for points in the best 3 of 4 events from the 2015 season. Still to come, the final leg of the Outright Championship coming up right after the break. You're watching the East Coast Bull Bars Australian Rally Championship from the Sunshine Coast of Australia. The events of day 1 in the outright competition saw everyone in the wars. Simon Evans crashed out and Tony Sullins washed up before the end of leg 1. The good news is they're all back to start leg 2 of the International Rally of Queensland. Rally leader Eli Evans is upbeat about the new day.
2 of the biggest stages today are actually the reverse of the stages we did yesterday. So there's really only 2 new stages and then 2 in reverse direction. So the new stages will be a little bit looser, but the repeat stages are going to be rough, hard, swept and fast. So we'll see. It's Rally Queensland. It's normally like this, so it's what we expect, and going to keep it clean this morning.
Eli's mo this morning is to ignore his opposition, especially his older brother, who will be hunting him down. Simon can't change the weekend result and the points bag that goes with it. So Eli needs to focus on the big picture and not worry about today's leg as much as the overall result. He and Glenn Weston decide to ignore Simon's times until the midday service. SS11 Speedy North is a clean run. It is 2 for Simon and Ben Searcy, despite an intermittent misfire in the engine, and with a heart-in-mouth moment when Simon wonders whether there might be a stray wild pig at the back of the herd. They trail the Citroen by 5.8 seconds after 22 kilometres. Adrian Coppen is third, but a full minute behind the fastest 2 cars due to the screen fogging up. And that after a very cautious creek crossing. The slow approach for Tony Sullins in leg 1 didn't work, so he decides on a speedier approach. But the creek is deeper and it's in the reverse direction. The result speaks for itself, and he and Julia Barkley spend the next 2 minutes restarting the DS3 in a part of the forest they're becoming very familiar with.
You've got to be joking.
Steve McKenzie continues on for leg 2, still suffering with boost issues in the Opticoat Fiesta. Now, with no sump guard to protect the engine, he's more cautious. He and Brent are 5th. They do beat Molly Taylor, but she has issues at the creek crossing as well. She and Bill Hayes lose more than a minute getting to the finish.
To 3 left tidy, don't. It'll clear.
Their demise is Harry Bates' good fortune. The standard Corolla Sportivo records the 4th fastest time across the day's longest stage. But that's where his good fortune ends.
We had a good run yesterday afternoon and a good stage this morning. Unfortunately, this is it for us. We have no more spare drive shafts, but we'll be back, and it's still been a good weekend, I think.
Tony Sullins finally gets some runs on the board. He's fast and neat over New Million, 3rd fastest behind the Evans brothers. It's Simon, though, who's quickest this time, upstaging his younger brother by 3 seconds, even with the misfire. While highlights of this rally seem to be focused around drive shafts and water crossings, tyres play a critical part in this equation as well. Dean caught up with Eli Evans after the New Million stage.
We've spoken at previous rounds about the Kumho combinations. You get 16 per round. How do you use those? Different widths, compounds, etc. Another thing that you factor in, you don't just bolt them on and leave them on. Eli Evans here just finished one of the stages here in Queensland, going into another. Eli, you're checking some pressures. Pretty important part of the job for the driver and the co-driver once you're out in the field.
Yeah, it is. It's really hot. So we've just finished the stage now. We've had 500 metres transport, and then we sit here for 10 minutes. And just in the 2 minutes we've sat here, my tyres have gone down 2 psi just with them cooling down. So, tyre pressures they're everything. If your tyre pressure's too high, your tyre doesn't move around as much and you feel like you're getting less grip and you feel like the car's not in the road. You bring them down a little bit, all of a sudden suspension, everything works better and the car is in the road and it gives you confidence.
But of course, not too low, because they can cause an issue in regards to punches. And also, it's a bit of a guarded secret between drivers on exactly what you find as an optimum temperature, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, it varies between cars as well. Like if I was running a four-wheel drive turbocharged car, I might be a couple of PSI higher, but in this little Citroen DS3, which weighs 1150, it's a couple of 100 kilos lighter, so we run the tyre pressures a little bit lower, generate a little bit more heat and get a bit more out of them.
It's not just about driving and co-driving, is it?
No, there's a bit of an art to it, and tyre pressures, well, they're the only things touching the road, so it's pretty important.
And if you'd like a chance to take on the world with Kumho Tyre and win a trip to round 4 of the East Coast Bull Bars Australian Rally Championship in September, then just check out the website rally.com.au/promotions for all the details. As it turns out today, Eli and Glenn Weston are carrying 2 spares for safety. A bit of extra weight, but cheap insurance in the long run. Ironically, Tony Sullins punctures next stage and drops 30 seconds. Worse still, he now has no spare for the remaining 2 stages before service. 1 second separates the Evans brothers. This time it's Eli's stage, but both are committed. Simon carries that commitment over into the final stage before service. Kandanga South is the Tank Former Honda stage by 7 seconds. The normally reliable Citroen falters.
50, reset the ignition.
Eli is forced to reset the ECU on the run through the 11-kilometre stage. 8 seconds ahead of Molly Taylor in what she admits is her favourite stage. Tony Sullins is desperately trying to make something of an otherwise very average weekend. He's fast in the Citroen, but several factors have been running against him this event.
You've got to take the positives, otherwise you just give up and walk away in this sport, I think. So, the positive is I'm not slow and the car's good.
Molly Taylor has been struggling all weekend. Gear linkages, heater hoses and the windscreen demister. She's resigned to making the most of a bad situation.
Frustrated by that, obviously, but we're in 3rd for the event, and that's as long as we don't make any mistakes, that's going to be the case. But we've still got 21 seconds behind Adrian going into the afternoon for this heat, so that's still on our radar.
And with Coppen's performance so far, it should be on her radar, although things are on the improve for him today. Steve McKenzie has been driving conservatively all morning. Without a sump guard, he's stiffened up the suspension in the front and has backed off just to make the finish and whatever points he can salvage.
You've got to pick where you're going to push, and in this rally, as you know, it's quite rough in a lot of spots, so there aren't too many spots you can actually have a bit of fun and pull back sometime.
Leg leader Simon Evans has finally worked out his engine misfire issue, but it took 3 stages.
And the problem came back halfway through the stage. So me being a dumb didn't do anything about it. Did another stage with the miss the whole time. And I thought, I might just disconnect the gear shift, which has got the engine cut in it. So we disconnected that. Perfect.
Speedy is his by 4 seconds. But clearly, it isn't Sullins. This time, without the airbox that's been feeding water directly to the engine, he's confident the car will be fine.
Really?
After the best part of 3 rounds, Ashley James is beginning to get things sorted in the VW Polo.
At the moment, like the car's driving me, I don't feel confident in it, and it's not set up right, so my confidence is not going to come until we can get the car sorted out.
At service, they've fixed the throttle position sensor, and he's well over a minute faster than his first pass on the same stage. Simon continues to lead, but through Woodlands, Eli hits back to close the gap to 6 seconds coming into the final stage. Simon is fired up. He's not in contention for the outright weekend win, but bragging rights are his with a stage victory here, and he makes it clear it's his. Tony Sullins is on the road ahead of Evans, running in amongst the APRC field. But his weekend is still not looking any better. Even with the finish line in sight, the DS3 still seems to have an attraction to water.
No! Oh,
Reset the ignition.
The ECU in Eli's Citroen cuts out again in exactly the same place as this morning, and they perform another reset without stopping.
Is it off again? Yeah, it's good.
Still, 5 seconds quicker than previous, he's far from concerned.
For us to be fast at 6 seconds down after about 70 or 80 kilometres is pretty impressive. So, I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of our speed all rally. It was just proved to be too consistent for all the other competitors.
Big Brother is not too unhappy either, pushing right to the end for a leg win.
I was driving hard, the Honda Jazz was just loving it. And I've got to compliment the Kumos, man. They kept hanging on and hanging on. That was good, the car was just brilliant. Boys at Evans Motorsport gave me a fantastic car. Gotta love it.
As an endurance round, you must finish every stage, so no Simon Evans in the overall results. Adrian Coppin, Steve McKenzie and Ashley James all proved this weekend that consistency and reaching the finish brings rewards. Our STP standout for this rally? Let's see what 4 times Australian Rally champion Neil Bates has to say.
STP standout, Kent Lawrence. He's a state competitor. He qualified for the power stage. He led the rally for 1.5 days. Unfortunately crashed out, but definitely my STP standout.
The Kumho Tyre Spirit of the Rally Award goes to Steve McKenzie, doing everything he could to stay in the race, despite their issues on and off the road, and even just getting to this event. With the rally won, Eli Evans takes over the lead from Molly Taylor, with Adrian Coppin and Steve McKenzie both jumping Tony Sullins by consistently finishing stages. They'll all meet again at Coates Hire Rally Australia on the Coffs Coast in September for the 4th round of the East Coast Bull Bars Australian Rally Championship. We hope you can join us September 10 to 13. For everything you need to keep up with the world of rally, just go to rally.com.au. Until then, I'm Greg Rust. Bye for now.
Today's coverage is made possible by Kumho Tyre, Pettis Suspension, Armor, STP, Coates Hire, Can-Am, Polaris, and our supporting partner East Coast Bull Bars, world's best alloy bull bars.